I fell through glass.
All right, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk officially completing his takeover and initiating what many are calling an executive bloodbath. He plans on speaking with employees today.
And for the latest details, our correspondent Sarah Williamson. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, guys. It has been a bloodbath so far, and he's saying that the bird is free. The bird is freed, apparently, because according to Elon Musk, he has taken over. That is according to Elon Musk after taking over the ownership. And he hasn't wasted any time because he's made his presence felt in that office already. He's fired the CEO, the CFO, and the policy chief. And the some 7,500 other Twitter employees are extremely concerned for their future at the company after Musk allegedly plans to cut Twitter's staff down to just 2,000 employees. A former staffer spoke about her deal and expressed her disappointment.
Everything related to the last 6 months has been, pretty sad for anyone who spent any real amount of time invested in believing that Twitter could be a positive project for the world.
Now, Musk, the self-described free speech absolutist, says he wants to prevent the platform from becoming an echo chamber for hate and division. He also says he will reverse bans on suspended users, which could include former US President Donald Trump. Trump came out applauding the platform's new ownership, taking to his own social media platform, Truth Social, saying this: "I am very happy that Twitter is now in sane hands and will no longer be run by radical left lunatics and maniacs that truly hate our country." Some of Musk's other goals include wanting to defeat spam bots and make the algorithms that determine how content is presented to its users publicly available. He also said on Thursday he did not buy Twitter to make more money, but to try to help humanity who he loves. Now, before closing the deal, Musk walked into Twitter's headquarters on Wednesday with a big grin on his face and a porcelain sink, subsequently tweeting, "Let that sink in." He changed his Twitter profile description to Chief Twit. So it is certainly going to be interesting to see how the platform does transform in the coming weeks. But what else is going to be interesting is to see whether former President Trump gets allowed back onto the platform, and if he even wants to come back on, considering he now has Truth Social.
Exactly. That will be interesting. I did see that Kanye West, of all things, was of all people, was one of the first allowed back on.
Exactly.
Controversial
right. That
indeed.
is an incredibly controversial move there.
Yeah.
Somebody said when he brought the sink in, he spent $44 billion to be able to do a dad's joke.
Really? Yeah, to do a dad joke. And it was. And you know what? I love dad jokes. So
and he's
it was
a dad.
a good one.
He's a dad.
You know why dads are being one? It's because when you tell your 6-year-old something, it's really funny. By the time they're 16, it's not so funny. That's why it sounds bad.
But then you get to 32, like me, and
That sounds
they
funny
become
again?
funny again.
I always laugh at I think I've always laughed at my dad's jokes. Yeah,
My
they're
girls
really
say
good.
I'm funny, but I think they're being polite.
Oh, you're funny.
You're funny, Bob.
And see, they're both being polite. Okay. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, so what could Twitter look like now that Musk is in charge? Here to discuss is GETTR CEO and former senior advisor to President Trump, Jason Miller. Jason, we'll talk about GETTR in a second, and Truth Social and all that, but let's start with Twitter. How's this going to unfold? What do you think happens?
Well, I think Twitter has a number of challenges in front of them. First and foremost, if we weren't talking about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, I think what we'd be talking about is Twitter missing the mark on their financials this quarter, like most of the other big tech companies. The fact of the matter is Twitter has failed to innovate over the years. That's why they've never taken off in the same way that, say, a Facebook or a Google has. They've failed to innovate, and that's really the crux of it. Twitter's a boring product. And I know Elon Musk came out and said that we want to avoid Twitter becoming a hellscape. Elon, I don't know when the last time you were on Twitter, it's already a hellscape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jason, according to your platform, GETTR, you said that even Elon Musk doesn't believe in Twitter. What do you mean by that?
Well, as we saw, Elon Musk back during the spring made his intention clearly, wanted to purchase Twitter. And then relatively shortly after, I'm not sure if someone got to him and pointed out how terrible the deal was at $54 a share. But he tried to back out of it. And he spent the entire summer bashing the platform. And even responded back to the former CEO, at least as of last night, former CEO, with a poop emoji, hammering Twitter over and over on the number of bots, on the fact that they've used political discrimination to pick winners and losers. It's so bad. It's almost as if the Russians going into Mariupol saying, hey, we want to build a really nice golf course. Well, guess what? You should have thought of that before you bombed the place.
How hard is it to make money in that world?
Oh, it's tough. You have to spend a lot of money to be able to make a lot of money. But what it comes down to is, what is that user experience that you're trying to deliver? One of the things with GETTR, we try to put a number of things together, make us a content hub where content creators want to come to, especially with our live streams and different things that we're doing, in addition to the traditional microblogging, the timeline. But that's why I led off by saying that Twitter has failed to innovate. There's nothing new or exciting. There's a reason why Elon Musk said that they're going to need to quadruple the number of daily active users on the platform to be able to make money. It's because it's not on a sustainable path at this moment. That's why he even went to former President Obama and Justin Bieber, and is almost kind of a Jeb Bush level, please
That's a
clap,
stretch.
to get back on. Look, people have moved on. They've made their decision if they want to be on Twitter or not. Some people are going to Instagram. Some people are going to platforms with GETTR, Truth, other ones that are out there. But guess what? People are not flocking to Twitter.
I didn't think I'd hear those two names in
No,
the
in a
same
sentence ever, right?
You know?
Former President Obama and Justin Bieber.
But it still has millions and millions of people, and former President Trump used to reach them in a split second. Do you think he will get back on to do that, or just use Truth Social or something else, GETTR or something else, to make his announcement, and then they're going to have it on Twitter?
Really good question, because I think when it comes to Elon Musk, it's all lip service until President Trump is reinstated on Twitter. Okay. And I did see where Elon allowed Kanye West, pretty controversial, but allowed Kanye back onto the platform, just it looks like within the last couple of hours. But the litmus test here, if Elon Musk is really going to be about free speech, will he allow President Trump to come back on? That's the big question that everyone wants to know.
All right. Jason Miller, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up, Putin's latest threat. Russia's president now calling for a new world order and warning that we've entered the most dangerous decade since World War II. Is he getting ready for a nuclear war? Secretary Robert Wilkie gives us his take. That's next.
This country was made by tax rebels, freedom fighters, gold seekers, believers, lovers, and true patriots. We're Newsmax, and we're their heirs, and so are you. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.